It's time to pick a side. The Border War is on the air with BG and TanMan.
Hello again and welcome, faithful listeners, to the Border War. This is episode 94. I'm the TanMan, dressed in my full Cowboys regalia. I'm joined in the studio by BG in his Wednesday shirt.
That's exactly right.
I nailed it.
Yes, you did.
Welcome in,
Good job,
guys.
sir.
Before we get started, I want to thank everybody for listening and downloading the episodes each week. Every week, the numbers seem to grow. We are constantly amazed at how we have taken the podcasting world by storm, and we want to express our gratitude.
I really have been, in all seriousness, I've been pleasantly surprised at the number of people that have kind of latched onto this. And when I talk to people in public, people. I think people like the show. I think that for two guys that, we don't toot our own horn too often, but for two guys that literally just bought a cheap microphone and snapped it to a laptop and found the freest software we could just to prove.
We didn't even find the software.
That's true. Just to prove that we could do a better job than some of the yahoos around here who are paid to do it.
And if you are anywhere near upstate South Carolina.
Actually, for one of the two stations, you have to be on the eastern side of Spartanburg County because they can't even get to the western side.
Be within like a 3-mile radius of the tower.
Yeah.
But anyway, BG, and a couple pretty big ball games this past Sunday. We've got a Super Bowl now.
A little bit of a black eye on both of them. A little bit of a black eye, but the scores themselves, both the games going into overtime. I mean, you would like to think that was a dream scenario for the NFL, but that's not what anybody's talking about.
No, you would think with getting 2 overtime games, 2 unbelievable finishes, that the NFL would be standing on a mountaintop screaming about how they're dominating the sports world, and that is not the case by far. Where we start? We start on the NFC side or the AFC side?
Let's start with the NFC because I think the AFC is the more interesting conversation, frankly.
Well, the NFC side, of course, the Rams, I don't know another way to put it, still won. They stole a victory from the Saints, or the Rams, or some officials.
Well, okay, go ahead. Keep going.
Well, I was going to say,
going. No, I mean,
yeah, if you saw here's my take on the end of that ball game. And if you've heard ESPN at all, or any of the sports networks at all in the last few days, of course, they've talked about this ad nauseum. Here's my take on the end of this. We have criticized referees to the point now where I honestly think that they were afraid to make a call at the end of that ball game, because I'm sitting there watching the game, and I think I tweeted out during the game, right after it happened, I have never in my life seen a more egregious example of what a pass interference. Before the season, when they have their meetings and they're showing video clips of this is a penalty, this is going to be on this is pass interference.
Yeah.
And not to mention the helmet-to-helmet hit to go along with it. And for that to be a no call, I'm stunned. Do you
think that's just a situation where the ref freezes up? You got a window of time, right, to pull that flag, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. Even after you know you should throw it, is it just one of those let them play that mantras? We kind of come back to that. You don't, because here's the thing. See if you agree with me on this. It's better to be the ref who gets maligned for not making a call than it is to be the ref that throws the flag that cost somebody the game. And I think that's what happened.
I'm okay.
It takes a set to grab that yellow flag in that situation. I don't care how obvious it is.
Look, I disagree with you. I'm okay with the idea of letting the players determine the end of the ball game. On the flip side, we'll talk about in a minute, I thought the refs did a terrible job at the end of the Patriots-Chiefs game. But when something is that outrageous, I don't know another way to put it, outrageous, you've got to throw that flag.
I meant to go back and look this up, and it was obviously it was a Redskins loss, and I'm wanting to say it was one of the 2 Colt McCoy starts, and I can't remember the game. But we were driving near the end of the game with a chance to win it. And there was a long kind of sideline route thrown to Josh Doxson. And I just remember there being the last play of the game, and the cornerback just mauled him. I mean, took him out. No flag. It was at home, and it was egregious. But, of course, there wasn't any outcry because it was a Redskins game long after the division was sort of out of reach. So my point being is this stuff does happen. It's just this was under a much bigger microscope. And in theory, you the league has its best officials out there. And I get what you're saying. I do. And I've always said that pass interference in the NFL is the most – it has the most potential for just – of all the penalties because it's a spot of the foul. You know, you can have a 99-yard penalty in theory. And so I've always thought if there's any penalty that needs to be reviewable, it's PI. And I still sort of stand by that. But
this one here, the Rams defender, number one, like I said, it was pass interference. 2, you had the helmet to helmet. 3, he never turned around to look for the ball at one time.
I agree with you. It was pretty obvious.
I get the human error is part of the game. You heard that all the time in baseball a while back. But
if anybody's out there saying the NFL had some kind of if the NFL wanted somebody to win that game, it was the Saints. It was the Saints because no one cares about Los Angeles football. We saw that when Dallas went out there and had 40,000 fans in their stadium last week. So I hate it. I hate it for Breeze because if there's a dude that's earned another crack at a Super Bowl ring, it's Drew Brees. But but it happened.
You tip your cap to the Rams defense. They effectively shut down the Saints rushing game. They hold Michael Thomas to 4 catches. Made one of the all-time greats look pretty pedestrian at times.
And lost the toss to start overtime.
Oh, well, it was over.
No, I'm just saying, man. I mean, you give the Saints defense credit because Drew Brees had the ball with the chance to win the game in overtime, which, according to some people, is a 100% chance of victory. But apparently it's not.
But the other thing, Jared Goff, before we get on to the AFC title game, before going into Sunday, I heard a lot of the talking heads go, of all the 4 quarterbacks, Jared Goff's the last one that you would want.
Everybody has made that team about their defensive line and Todd Gurley.
Yeah, and Gurley, I don't know if his knee was bothering him a little bit. He was pretty much a no-show. Jared Goff was.
He played lights out.
He was pretty close to amazing on Sunday. So I think, as I predicted last week, the Rams are headed to the Super Bowl. On the AFC side,
I think you mean as BG predicted in August.
No.
I think that's what you meant.
No. Once you pick the Saints, you've nullified.
No, I still get credit.
No,
I was going to win either way.
No.
Now this was all carefully orchestrated. You can't. You can't take that away from me.
You can't just pick every team in the league and go, I picked them back in August.
Well, I can't beat you and the refs, TanMan. What about that?
As I say, neither can the Saints. On the AFC side, no surprise here. It is what it is. Tom Brady going back for a 3rd straight time. Headed back to the Super Bowl. What is this, 10?
I think it's 94. I think he's been to 94 Super Bowl.
Give me your thoughts on the AFC title game.
Well, clearly the Chiefs could have won. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's just say that. And people that think that this Chiefs franchise is going anywhere anytime soon, I think they're going to be right back there next year because of the way Pat Mahomes can throw a football. When you watch him play, nothing about him screams RG3. Nothing about him screams Dak Prescott. He has genuine arm talent. Not to take anything away from those guys, but while he can run,
listen, I was dead wrong with Pat Mahomes.
He is a legitimate NFL pocket passer who happens to have all the other tools you can have too. So like baseball guys, you talk about 5-tool players. Pat Mahomes is a 5-tool NFL player. That being said, I think if you thought they were going to be able to beat the Pats as a little bit naive, the coin toss thing, let's just go ahead and jump into that. Now, I don't like the NFL playoff system, and you've sort of defended it, and I've told you I don't like the exact same thing, that you can go down and win it, but, as people have rightly pointed out, or go down and win it without the other team having the ball. But I actually saw the statistic tweeted out this week. What percentage, since this new rule, is it 3 years old now?
Sounds
and
right.
this is the third season?
That sounds right.
In that time, what percentage of teams receiving the ball first have gone on to win those games? Take a guess.
Without the other team getting the ball?
No, period.
Just in period?
Period.
I'll say 65.
52.3.
Okay.
52.3%, which is essentially a wash.
It's half.
So that sort of suggests that, most of at least almost half the time, that defense at least stops.
I was going to say, it tells me the playoffs, the overtime system in the NFL is not broken. I get what you're saying.
Now, let me ask you this, though. If the Chiefs win that toss, now, to give me a one-word answer, because I want to make a follow-up point here. If the Chiefs win that toss, do they win the game?
Yes.
I agree. If the Chiefs win the toss and they go win the game, are we hearing any of this controversy? It's what people are actually upset about. It's that Tom Brady won. Because I think that's all it is. People hate Tom Brady. Man, look,
I think
Mike and the not Mike, they tweeted out this week most hated teams in America. They had you guys ahead of the Pats. That is absurd.
No.
That is absurd. There are not more people that hate the Cowboys than hate the New England Patriots right now. I don't ever hear anybody talk about how much they hate the Cowboys. Cowboys fans, people like you, yes, everybody hates y'all. Lots of people hate you, TanMan. But the Patriots, man, they bring a whole different level of anger. I hear people at work talk about hating Tom Brady, and they don't even know that much about football.
Listen, everybody hates the Patriots now.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
But big picture, nobody hates anybody in the NFL more than they hate the Dallas Cowboys. Period. It's like we're the New York Yankees. All right? You might hate the Red Sox right now. You might hate the Dodgers right now. But who do you really dislike in baseball? It's the Yankees.
I hate the Yankees.
They win 70 games this year. Guess what? You're going to hate the Yankees. That's it. The Cowboys are the most hated team in the NFL.
I disagree.
No, you're wrong.
I think you're number 2.
This Patriots team, this team is just, to me, it's built a little bit
Let's point
different.
out that right now for you is the last 20 years. Okay, it's not like they just started winning this year. Like, my child is in 11th grade. He was born the year they played the Rams in the Super Bowl. Okay, man, like he's driving. This hasn't just been a flash in the pan. People hate him.
Oh, well, yeah, they hate him. But they didn't hate him when it started. I think they started hating him probably somewhere around the third or fourth.
So you think people hate the Cowboys more for something you did in 1995 than what the Patriots have done over the last 18 years?
Yes.
That's absurd.
No.
Rarely have you been so wrong, and you have been so wrong many times.
I am not wrong often, and this is not one of those times either. But
I wish I could get to the sound effects.
What do you think about well, no, you're not qualified. What do you think about the end of that ball game? I've never seen Tom Brady look so human. And had it not been for an offsides call,
the game was over.
That tipped interception.
I think they were going to win it. Yeah.
Here's my conspiracy theory for the week.
All
right. I think that you had the Saints game first. You had the pass interference that they just got raked over the coals for not calling. The end of that Chiefs-Patriots game, you had the offsides. And that's the right call. I'm not saying it wasn't.
No, the guy was offside.
He was offside.
No question.
But you had the offsides call. You had the defensive back from New England get called for pass interference twice, like back-to-back plays that basically took Kansas City down the field on one of those drives when they each scored 100 points in that fourth quarter. I think it was. I think the message was sent. Look, we are not doing that because the first half of that ball game, they let them play. Mm-hmm. The first half of the Chiefs-Patriots game, they let them play. But at the end of that ball game, they tightened things up.
Because,
they tightened it up because they did not want a replay of what just happened.
I would love
earlier.
It's an interesting thought because you wonder because of the way that those games were scheduled right up against each other. Because the first game went into overtime, it very well might have been past the point for those refs to have found out what happened at the end of that game during the first half of their game. It may have been after halftime or during halftime that they found out.
That they got told, listen, you guys had better not screw this up.
I mean, I can see that. I mean, if you don't think that, I don't even think that's a conspiracy theory. I mean, these are human beings out there, and there is a front office involved here.
Yeah,
there is a product being put on the field.
Yeah,
the refs are doing something during halftime. Probably should have been checking those footballs to make sure they were inflated properly, but who knows?
Well, this game was in Kansas City, so I don't think you had any of that funny business going on. But one of my favorite quotes: "You might as well do something while you're doing nothing." Napoleon Dynamite. You seen Napoleon Dynamite?
I've seen Napoleon Dynamite.
Because I said that, and you looked at me like you had this blank look on your face.
That's the way my face looks. I don't know why you have to bring my genetics into this.
I'm just asking.
My whole family has blank faces.
Just blank faces.
Yes,
blank face.
We stay in the middle lane.
A lot of talk about rule changes. Obviously, the big one is changing the overtime. We've touched on it. Personally, I wouldn't touch it.
We talked about this we talked about this 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Well, we talked about a few things with the Festivus.
Is that when it came up and I came up with my idea? Yeah, because
maybe, but
both teams need to get the football.
I
don't like college. I don't like giving it to them on the 25.
Well, no, because whatever it was, Texas A&M and LSU, I don't want to watch a 75-72 football game. That's absurd.
I think you play the extra. Go ahead and play the 15 minutes and see who wins it.
What's your take on expanding the replay? Because now they're saying, it seems like there's a lot of momentum now to make pass interference calls and basically make everything reviewable if you listen to some of those folks. I think that is a terrible idea. The last thing we need is more replay.
I agree with you in general. I'm a little wary of letting pass interference stay like it is because.
So you want pass interference calls reviewable?
Well, to me, if there was only one thing that should be reviewable, it's pass interference. I think pass interference should be reviewable before spot the ball is reviewable. Pass interference can flip an entire game, dude.
No,
it can flip the whole game.
You know what? The referees are grown men. They're getting a paycheck for being out there. Make the call. All you got to do your job. Make the call. We don't need more replay. We don't need. It takes them 30 seconds to trot over to the TV screen. They stand on the TV screen for 3 minutes. But you're talking about spotting, making sure the ball's in the right spot. I mean, you're talking about.
Yeah, but that's reviewable.
Well, right. But you said you would make pass interference reviewable before that.
Yes,
I disagree. Making sure the ball is in the right place.
Okay.
On a fourth down could mean the difference between.
I get what you're saying, but there's nothing that can impact the game like a 70-yard pass interference penalty or a 40-yard pass interference penalty that essentially can be a turnover. All right. Especially if the ball's picked off or if it's third down, those are basically turnovers.
But how many times is pass interference questionable? Not often.
Well,
not often.
But then what's the big deal about making it reviewable if it's not going to even come up very often?
Because it's a waste of time. Why do we need more replay? Listen, Stephen A. Smith, I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but he made a good point. Sometime between then and now, I heard him the other day, where he said he would just take out reviewing everything in the first half. There's no challenges, no review, no nothing. Play the game.
I think that's naive. It's just the same idea. People think that, and see, that gets into this whole thing. There were missed calls all during that game.
Well, there's always going to be missed calls.
The Saints probably had a missed call in their favor in the first half that let a drive stay alive, but no one talks about it. That doesn't make it less important.
All right.
This stuff evens out.
All right. So if we're going to say that it evens out, then why do we even need replay to begin with?
Well, I mean,
I say take it out.
I don't know that we do, but I mean, if I don't agree with taking it out of the first half and keeping it in the second, that's like the mentality of with the baseball games you played in April, they don't matter. Whatever. Yes, they do. It's just a mathematical certainty. They matter. The plays in the first half do not matter less than the plays in the second half. We just pay more attention, which is really all this reveals, is that you got a lot of people paying attention to football that don't seem to watch as much football as they act like they watch.
Yeah.
And you can't go by one call in one game.
That or put somebody upstairs. And if you have to add an extra person to the crew. Put somebody upstairs that when stuff like this happens, buzz down, go, like a virtual tap on the shoulder.
Pick up the flag.
Yep. Throw the flag. We're gonna call this penalty. We're not gonna let that slide.
All right.
Because that, like I said, you can't have football games ending.
Well, you got how many NFL home games are there being played in the 1 o'clock time slot most weeks? 8 to 10.
Yeah.
You got to have a lot of competent people. I'm not sure there are that many competent people to sit in those boxes and make those calls.
I was just say it can't be that
I don't
hard.
want that job.
I'd take it.
If I was anonymous, I would take it.
No. You gotta put your face on it.
I'm not going to be Steve Bartman out here, man.
You gotta put your face on it. You gotta wear the turtleneck.
Y'all can have that.
Oh, man.
Keep that job.
But the ending of that game got me to thinking, BG, of some...
That's always dangerous.
No, man. This brain, it never stops.
Talk for a minute. I'm going to put some Vicks on my lips here.
I'm always thinking of something.
You go ahead and talk.
The way this game
something?
ended, I do not.
Okay.
I do not. That's the devil's jelly.
I'm always in the mindset of trying to find good rock band names. The Devil's Jelly. That ain't bad, man. That is not bad.
But the way the Saints lost this one, you think back last year, the Minnesota Miracle, the guy the DB slips and falls.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs is wide open down the sideline. They lose that one. I don't know that you can find a sports team.
Snake bitten.
Really, snake bitten is the perfect word for it right now. But it got me to thinking about some of the other just absolutely devastating losses that the teams that we talk about here on our show have suffered over the last handful of years.
Man, the Atlanta Braves pick about 10.
Oh gosh, but it brought
We're talking about NFL.
NFL, yeah.
Okay.
But the first thing that jumped out to me was remember John Casey. They're in the Super Bowl against New England.
Yes.
It had gotten off to a real slow start. They picked up in the second quarter, then kind of faded back a little bit, picked up again in the fourth quarter.
Janet Jackson got everybody worked up after halftime.
Was that?
Of course it was.
Was that game, though?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'd already forgotten about that. But I remember Jake Delhomme hitting Ricky Prohl to tie the game up. And like one of the all-time great kickers in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's literally the easiest thing that a kicker does is kick the ball off. And this guy, Casey, he kicks it out of bounds. The Patriots get the ball with, what would you say, a little less than 2 minutes, couple timeouts. You give Tom Brady.
It was after the 2-minute warning. I do remember that, but I have no idea. Yeah.
Give Tom Brady the ball at the 40-yard line. And basically, John Casey kicked the Super Bowl chances away for Carolina right then.
But again, the thing is, if he puts it into the end zone, I think in my head, knowing what we know now about Brady, there's still probably an 85% chance Pats go down the field and score anyway. But no, your point, you certainly don't want to give him any extra help at all.
All right, but here's the other one. This is one that I'll never forget. You remember the Carolina Panthers? I think it was 2008, 2009. It was the year the Cardinals went to the Super Bowl. The Panthers are 12-4 that year. They're hosting. I don't know. They were either the 1 or the 2 seed. It was the Jake Delhomme game. You remember that? Jake Delhomme throws like 5 interceptions.
Oh,
they score first.
Yeah.
And Arizona scores 33 unanswered points. Jake Delhomme throws 5 picks. This was a team just a couple years removed from being in the Super Bowl.
Right.
And this was basically the end of Jake Delhomme's career.
Well, a lot of people will make the argument that was really the most talented Panthers team. More so even than the two that did make it to a Super Bowl. Yeah, they flat out choked in the second half of that game. I do remember, and Delhomme, you're right, never recovered from that.
No,
I would make the argument he still has. You don't hear people hold him up. Like, he's not.
No, Panther fans will trash Jake Delhomme in a heartbeat,
Absolutely.
man.
They throw him under the
Well,
bus.
he went to a Super Bowl.
And he is by far the most successful quarterback you've ever had. And if that gets you triggered, then you aren't paying attention just to the stats.
Yeah, well, look,
Jake Delhomme's the best quarterback the Panthers have ever had.
He took you to
and
a
he
Super
is in
Bowl.
no danger of being replaced
now.
He
took you to a Super Bowl that by all rights, you probably should have won that one.
Yeah.
He had you in another NFC title game. He had you that night up in Charlotte where you were the 1 or the 2 seed in the playoffs that
And
year
he came
with
out
a Super Bowl
and
team.
he came out of nowhere.
No. What was it? New Orleans?
Yeah.
Just kind of panorama. I remember my parents lived in Ohio for several years. I actually watched that game at their house in Ohio. I was driving up to visit them one time, and the found a radio station out of Cleveland. I think he stayed in Carolina for one more season. He played like 7 games. He threw like 20 interceptions. That was it. He went to Cleveland that last year, and the Browns fans were calling in, going, "Oh man, that Jake Delhomme, things are getting ready to turn around." And I almost called in driving down the road. I was like, "All right, guys, y'all are like 2 years late to the party. This dude's arm is shot, man."
Yeah,
but they were happy. They were excited to get Jake Delhomme.
I think Jake owns like a really massive horse ranch now somewhere down in Louisiana, and from what I remember reading, he's making more money now than he did in the league.
I got Jake Delhomme's autograph one time.
Really?
Yeah. It's on like one of those preseason football magazines.
Okay.
It was a year after they lost the Super Bowl. That next year in training camp, I just went one day just for the heck of it. I think I got like him and Mike Rucker and John Fox.
I ran into Steve Berline and Kerry Collins in a bar here in Spartanburg.
Well, I was going to say it had to have been a bar.
And I'm not going to say who was who, but one of those two guys was extremely intoxicated. And it was not Steve Berline.
Oh man! So I got to digging around. BG, tell me if you remember this one. 2013 wild card weekend. The Seattle Seahawks are not quite the Seattle Seahawks yet. They're on the way to being the Seattle Seahawks that we saw, the Legion of Boom.
They were still wearing the weird. I watched the replay the other day. It might have even been that season of the Beast Mode run when the nickname came from, where he
shoved
takes
the guy from the
just,
Saints away.
Takes the Saint and throws him like a rag doll. But they still had those weird kind of like bluish gray uniforms on it.
They look like scuba suits.
That sort of morphed from the early 2000s, because they had the oh Lord, what was his name? He was on the cover of the Madden game. What was his? Sean Alexander. Yeah, they had that version that was sort of blue,
like a blue-green.
It was like a medium blue, and then they kind of shifted to the gray before they really hit their stride. And I love their uniforms now.
They got great uniforms now, but. Like I said, they weren't.
But I didn't realize that recently their uniforms were nothing like they are now. Yeah, that was like 5 years ago.
Not quite the Legion of Boom yet. Take you back, BG. Tell me what you're thinking. The first quarter's in the books. The Redskins are up 14-0.
Yeah.
Wasn't this the field monsters reached up and grabbed Robert Griffin and twisted his knee like Stretch Armstrong?
Yeah. Well, the field was coming apart during the whole game. One of many, many, many questions I would have for Dan Snyder honestly, though, if you boil it down, if I only get 5 questions for Dan Snyder, one of them is going to be, why don't we have field turf? Because the atmosphere in D.C. in the wintertime obviously can't be maintained.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh gave up on it. Very similar situations. You've seen games back in the 2002, 2003 where the Steelers field was just shredded,
and they've got a college team that shares their stadium too, so they're getting twice the use.
Well, and I think that at the time, I'm not 100% sure we didn't have a college team playing on that field. I think it was a Division II school, but at the same time, there's no excuse for it. Yeah, and the Seahawks owned the second half of that game. Griffin wasn't healthy way before that knee injury. I mean, he was hobbling around the whole second half, but
the Redskins,
not Shanahan's finest moment.
It went and pulled it up. You guys opened up the night with a 9-play touchdown drive and an 11-play touchdown drive, and after that, punt, pick, punt, fumble.
And the fumble was that play.
And it was that play.
Yeah.
Just a rough night. Let's see, what was the other one?
Then we have another Seahawks playoff loss at home after that, right?
Well, I was going to say, I think you had a couple Seahawks playoff losses before that, because I think your last 4 playoff trips, I think you had the Packers was the last one, and then before that they were all Seahawks. But the other one I found a couple years ago, you guys were again hosting the Green Bay Packers. I think this was the year that you guys might have beat us week 17 to win the division. We both finished at like 8-8. You guys were up 5-0 to start the ball game. You guys are hanging around. You're up 11-7, and then the Packers. Aaron Rodgers goes to work.
We seem to be focusing heavily on the Redskins here. Are we going to get around to the Cowboys?
Well, I mean, if we have time.
Do you have any painful Cowboys losses?
If we have time. But I wanted to paint this.
How about that 82 NFC title game? Is that up there? Is that one of your painful losses?
No, I wasn't born.
Wow.
I wasn't born.
No wonder you're a Cowboys fan.
No, listen, I've never made any bones about it. I'm a Cowboys fan because whenever I was like 8 years old or 7 years old and you're starting to pay attention to sports, Cowboys were in the Super Bowl. That's it. And to this day, whatever it was, Super Bowl 27 has basically ruined my football adulthood. Because that day, I picked the Cowboys that day. They blew the Bills out. They won the Super Bowl the next year. They won a third one 2 years later.
I think I'm a Redskins fan because I'm attracted to difficult lost causes. Apparently, in sport. I was
going to say, like a podcast?
No, not like a podcast. I know. I was walking in a grocery store around here about 5 or 6 years ago, and I think I had a Gamecock baseball cap on, and I had a Redskins hoodie on, and this guy is in the line behind me, and he's like, "Man, that's a painful combo." I said, "You got that right, big man. There's a lot of hurt in this color combo right here."
Why would you do this to yourself? Why? No, you want to talk about some Cowboys? I actually came up with 4. So there you go. And
the hiring of Dave Campo, is that one of them?
Well, we can,
every game that Dave Campo coached.
We can circle back and tie a myriad of problems.
Tell them how I texted you this week, and I was like, I need some advice, man. How did you get through the Dave Campo years? Because that's where I'm at right now.
My friends Jack and Jose hung out a lot.
Did you see any of Bruce Allen's quote-unquote press conference?
No.
God, what a loser. Just nothing. He's just so arrogantly aware of the fact that everybody wants him gone except the one person that matters. He has no answers for anything, doesn't feel the need to explain anything. When he's asked about, the fact that the fans didn't even show up for the last 4 games, he thinks it's because we weren't competitive and not because they were trying to send a message. I mean, every bit of that was to send a message to Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen. It had nothing to do with that team not being good. You go back to the Jack Kent Cook years. There were years the Redskins did not play well. They sold those stadiums out.
Yeah.
This fan base is very politically aware of what they're facing right now, and it is an inept front office. Inept.
Well, among other things. But for the Cowboys, I came up with 4, but I'm going to narrow it down to 2 that I think really just broke the back. The first one is obvious. It's the Tony Romo fumbled snap in the playoff game against Seattle. So what year was it? It was 2007, I think. For some reason, he had gotten the starting job earlier that year, and for some reason, Bill Parcells still had him holding on the kicks from his time being a backup.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's got him still holding.
And he already had a little bit of the narrative going.
Yeah.
Hadn't he lost one playoff game already?
Well, no. This was the first time.
Was that the first one?
This is the first time.
The Cowboys had the mantra, and Romo was going to fix it.
Yeah. He had taken over, and Parcells was still in charge. The whole "let me shop for the groceries" kind of thing. And this team was kind of, it felt like you watch them. I think they went 9-7 that year. I felt like they were kind of turning the corner. This game's up at Seattle. Again, Seattle's not Seattle yet. I think this might have been the year they went to the Super Bowl with Hasselbeck and that they lost to the Steelers.
Yeah, it was.
But Tony Romo fumbling that snap, and that basically followed that man.
Yes.
His whole career, and he, despite all the past numbers that he put up. I mean, I've always maintained Tony Romo is one piece of jewelry away from being a Hall of Fame quarterback. And whether that's that, you can have that debate if you want to. That's just my opinion. But this followed this man's career around for the duration.
No, I think there's
never mind the fact that Seattle snuck a brand new shiny football in there.
That's still the play I think of when I think of Tony Romo.
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree with you. Even as a Redskins fan, that's not fair. I do have to mention for the Redskins, I think probably the most painful loss ever is Super Bowl 18, where the Redskins basically dominated the Raiders and had some stupid turnovers, and Marcus Allen literally beat them on one carry of the football in which he reversed the complete field and one bad angle from a free safety, or we're talking about the Redskins having 4 Super Bowls. And that, I mean, those are the kinds of things that never stop hurting. You know, those one play. Now, you can flip it around and say if the Dolphins had done a better job the year before of tackling John Riggins, then we don't win that game because the Dolphins really could have won that game pretty easily.
Yeah.
Except for the one big carry that Riggins had to put the nail in the coffin. But, yeah, fundamentally speaking, if you go back and watch that Marcus Allen run.
The difference between 4 and 3 is huge.
It's massive.
I mean, that's
it's
a
massive.
Big gap.
The Redskins sort of end up being like the king of the B group. But you're not in the A group.
No, you're not.
Not with 3.
You're not in the A group with 3. But
yeah. And again, really, one carry of the football.
But the other one that I hung my hat on as a Cowboys fan, we've had of course we've had the Des Bryant caught the ball game. That's not one. You had the year that a couple years after the Romo fumble where they were 13-3 in Wade Phillips' first year as head coach. Romo throws the pick in the end zone against the Giants that year. That's not one. To me, the one that still sticks today, and even after we've kind of exercised that ghost and won a playoff game this year, I just go back a couple years ago, man. Playing the Packers, you get Aaron Rodgers, you're down 21-3. Basically, you're dead to rights. You got a rookie quarterback, a rookie running back. Man, they circle the wagons. You come all the way back, tie this thing up twice. Bailey kicks a 52-yard field goal. There's 30 seconds left. And he didn't pull a John Casey. We didn't kick it out of bounds. We kicked it out into the end zone. Aaron Rodgers starts at his 25. And then this whole stadium with 90,000 people, I don't know how many square feet this is. There's like a hole. There's a hole in the air like 6 inches wide. There's only one spot that a football can go that this will work. And Aaron Rodgers puts it right in that spot to Jared Cook on the sideline. Bing, bang, boom. Mason Crosby kicks a, 50-something yard field goal that was going left.
Right.
It was going left, man. And then all of a sudden it was like somebody just and blew the thing, and it starts hooking back right, goes to the uprights. Hey, you talk about a punch in the gut. Oh, man, I'm fired up even thinking about it.
As we said last week, if you missed our NFL show, since the year, 20 years, in the past 20 seasons, there are 3 NFC teams who have not played for the right to go to the Super Bowl. One of them is the Detroit Lions. Self-explanatory.
Well, no, there's more than that. You get the
Bengals. Not in the last 20 years.
The Bengals haven't.
NFC.
Oh.
NFC. The Lions, the Cowboys, and the Redskins. So if you think we're just complaining for no reason, nope.
No,
we have good reasons.
This was our solidarity, olive branch to Saints fans to let you know you are not alone in this NFL misery.
Well, that and the fact that it's Wednesday afternoon. There's not a lot to say about these games that you haven't already heard someone else say. We try to come at things from a little bit different angle.
We got a couple minutes. What's your thought on the language that I didn't know existed about Roger Goodell having the power to basically go back in and retroactively start the game from this point and basically restart the end of a ball game? I think it's crazy. I mean,
well, here's the thing. Well, it is crazy, but if he's not going to do it for this particular situation, then they might as well just take that power away because no one's ever going to do it.
See, I don't think you can do it in this situation. This was the referee. He made the call. I think that
would be for
if
a fan runs on the game.
Well, no,
on the field,
I think if after the game you find out that there were actors in the game that had some nefarious intentions, maybe there was some game fixing,
right?
Maybe some. I think that would be the time that if that nuclear option was ever going to be
nefarious. Huh?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, I'm full of. I'm
throwing
full of
the
stuff.
SAT words out today.
Hey, I did it the other week. I don't even remember what it was I said. I came up with a witty book reference.
It was the Scarlet Letter.
Oh yeah.
By Nate Hawthorne, as you put it.
Yeah, Big Nate. But no, I think unless you find out that there was some sort of outside interference that affected the outcome of the game, then I think you could see Goodell possibly push the button. But to do it with this situation is absurd. You're opening up a Pandora's box that you're not ready, not even close to being ready to open up.
I bet I would do it. I wouldn't be able to help it. I would have done it. I would have done it in a game that didn't even matter.
Like week 3.
No, the game 2 seasons ago where the Jacksonville-Pittsburgh game, what was the last score? That was a 49-0, 49-7, the 5-pick game or whatever. I would have been like, nope, we're playing it over. Start it from the second to the last play. Everybody gets suited up next Monday. We're going back out for a kneel down. Why are you doing this? Because I can.
I'd do it in the Super Bowl.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Guy makes a kick, wins the game. I'm like, oh, no. This guy, he was offsides. Come back on Tuesday and kick it again.
I was telling my son and I were talking about presidents giving State of the Union addresses or whatever, and he was like, I couldn't do it, man. He's like, I'd be looking at the teleprompter, and he's like, I would just be so tempted to say something stupid that just made no sense. And I remember when I was a little kid, my dad gave me the car keys to hold or something. Like it was everything I could do to not throw them off a bridge, just because you wanted to know what would happen if you did that.
Throw car keys on bridge. I got an idea what will happen.
I never did it, but the point is I had to resist the urge to just like randomly toss them into the ocean or something. I just really had that temptation.
I learned very strange things about you, like every other time.
Well, it's the devil's jelly.
Jelly.
What can you do?
All right, guys, that's it. That's it for what are we on? Episode 94. Go give us a follow on Twitter at the Border War. Next week, of course, there's no football this weekend unless you want to talk Pro Bowl, which you kind of made clear you didn't want to. It's fine. It's fine.
Do you want to?
No, it's okay.
Why are you being all weird about it? You didn't want to talk about the Pro Bowl?
I'm trying to punt to another topic, if you would let me. But the NBA trade deadline will be coming up. The NBA All-Star Draft will be coming up. That's going to be televised this year. Before we head off, interesting note I saw today, the Charlotte Hornets are rebuffing trade offers that they are sending back trade calls they're getting for Kemba Walker. So I think that
well, hopefully the trades will be coming into the Hornets instead of out if they're going to go get somebody. But I still think
I just saw
get rid of Malik Monk or anybody like that's a bad move.
I just saw that the Hornets are turning away suitors for Kemba Walker at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure we'll touch on that next week. Go follow us again at the Border War. He is at BG_Border War. I am at TanMan3264. You can follow us on Facebook. Anything else you'd like to add before I click the button that says show closing and shut this thing down? Because I'm done. I don't have anything else to say.
That's my way of saying that's my way of saying I
don't have
either.
Anything else though.
I mean, but
I don't have anything
I don't
else to
want to say more words. Why can't the show just be over?
I mean, it can.
Do we have to do something every week where we make it like?
I don't have it, and I don't have anything else to say.
Should we point out that we're sponsored by Vicks Vapor Rub?
Sponsored by the Devil's Jelly.
I think the band name would just be Devil's Jelly.
If I ever see a band with that name, I'm going to throw a hammer through a computer screen.
Penguin Pals. Nobody's